How's it, guys, and welcome back to the TCC podcast, where we chat about coffee. Today we are visiting Airabica. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes.
Excellent. So I have with me on my left, of course, the man himself,
Stian Strauss.
the Stianis, and the introduction we are not going to say, because the first question would just be, Duncan, tell us about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Duncan the Clerk from Airabica. So we micro roastery here in Pretoria East, and we do air roasting.
Which is our first one. We've never visited an air roaster before, but today we won't be discussing the air roaster, of course.
That will be our next episode.
We'll come back to the air roasting. Today we just want to know who Duncan is, where he's from, what he does, and of course for you listeners, to maybe try his coffee, because that's what it's all about.
Now, Duncan, you say you do air roasting. Where did you start it, and why did you decide on air roasting?
So it started maybe about 10, 15 years ago. So I started drinking cappuccino espresso coffees from a friend, Albert, that got me into coffee, and then I learned to make proper coffee at church.
Proper coffee, I like it.
I'm still on a barista team there, and I was still drinking 3 sugars in my cappuccinos, unfortunately, at that stage. So
hey, we all started somewhere.
It was a slow process, but yeah, I started making my own coffees with a small Breville at home, and then went from there.
All right. So your friend trained you. He introduced you to the coffee industry.
Yes, on proper coffee, and then I started.
And
trying
you said
to
his
make
name
my
is
coffees. Albert.
Albert. We thank you for that. Bring
You the
Duncan.
man.
Now, so that's where your coffee journey started originally. So where did your air roasting journey start?
Yeah, how did you get into roasting, man?
Yeah, so I always had a passion for beverages, for something that's nice to eat, and coffee was one of those things. So I was in the IT industry, and then I thought of maybe doing something different.
Oh, that says it all. Of
IT
course.
guys.
Programmers and coffee, you always have a mug next to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought of doing as a hobby, maybe getting a roastery, and then I thought maybe let's try doing something completely different than IT, and I got a proper roaster, and then when I was looking at roasters, I investigated and did research on an air roaster, which is a newer technology, but actually very well known, old technology, but not very well known, and not a lot of roasters out there. So yeah, I did some research, and I actually got to Emotion Roasters. So they're a local producer that's doing their own roaster, so I started chatting with them.
Nice.
And eventually we bought a 6 kg roaster, and then started doing a full-time coffee roasting, and that's our primary business, is roasting and supplying coffee.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to the following episode where we're going to discuss the air roasting more in depth. But you mentioned now that you had a connection with the local producer. How did you connect to the local producer, and what's your connection to the farmer, or do you have any? How did you connect to the producer?
Did the roaster actually introduce you to green coffee, or were you into green coffee before you got the roaster?
So I think it was part of the process. Doing research, I needed a supply of beans and then a roaster. So we went to see Julian and his team and his wife in Joburg. So they showed us the roaster, did a roast, and we were quite interested. And then I actually did a green bean course at
the Old Seven Oaks.
Old Seven Oaks.
With Mr. Nicodemus.
Yes, I learned a lot from them, and that's where the whole journey started. So I started getting my beans from Zuka, and then I also tried to get beans from local suppliers. So I like to support local as far as possible, and local farmers, and get to know them. So yeah.
The South African way.
Yeah.
Because we like to support locally, always.
Yes.
It's part of our culture.
So you do believe in a slogan that says "local is lekker."
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
And you say you like to get known the local supporters and producers, and that's how you started connecting with them. How would you advise for any coffee consumer out there to get connected to the local community, to the local caffeine community?
Yeah, I think the job that you're doing is the first part. It's just getting the message out there, making podcasts, and learning who is out there, because a lot of people don't know that South Africa actually grows there, and coffee, for example. So it's all about education, learning. It's a constant learning process of how to make coffee, but also the beans specifically, where it is being produced, how is it being produced, who's the farmers, where's the areas, how does it differ. So it's really about education and learning, podcasts and material, coffee magazine, all these guys are supporting the local
It's
guys.
funny how it always comes back to that main concept, the concept of the local education. I mean, if I think back, when I got into coffee 9 years ago, for me, I literally, and I always make this joke on the podcast, I literally thought we dug the brown beans. Wow, what a tongue twister right there. We dug the brown beans out of the soil, washed it, and made coffee with it. That was my concept of coffee, because whenever you saw pictures of Nescafe or coffee or whatever, it's always like this green bushes in the back with the soil and the brown beans laying normally close to that.
Well, that's why I understand when the package says grounded coffee. I thought, well, it comes from the ground, you know.
Has to be something to do with that, right? And it was the uneducated me who was naive enough to think coffee is disgusting because it just comes out of the soil. It's just a normal thing. When my journey started in realizing, or when they introduced me to coffee grows on a tree inside a berry or inside a cherry, I was like, wait a second, there's more to this? And that's when I started doing my research. And it's funny how the discussions always goes back to that point, which is why we try and focus on it. We try and focus on getting an educated market, number one. We focus on trying to get the information out there. And what's the best way? By reading, listening, and watching. That's how we get out. And so obviously it's always fun for us to sit with someone like yourself who had exactly the same experience. Your journey started in, well, I was a programmer, which means I always had a cup of coffee next to me. Yes, you had sugar in it, whatever. But then your journey started and you were like, oh wow, there's actually something nicer. And then your heart ended up in, you just want to tell the people out there how amazing the coffee is.
Yes.
And I think that's the beautiful thing about coffee, is the fact we've got the ability to do exactly that. To go out and tell you guys on the podcast, there's more to life than just coffee. Coffee is so much more than just coffee. I love it, man.
Well,
Such a beautiful story.
As a IT programmer, what was your regular cup of coffee for a day?
Yes.
Before you got into the industry of coffee.
What was your coffee before coffee?
To be honest, I didn't drink that much coffee, so it was maybe
so you were
instant
not
coffee
typical
with a rusk,
Okay.
and then cappuccino. That was really my go-to to drink. So
The milky
I
guy.
enjoy, yeah,
I
and
love
to
it.
be honest, I still appreciate a flat white. That's
Okay.
still one of my go-to drinks. And then if there's a real nice specialty coffee, fruity,
A
black
ristretto flat
Americano,
white or a single espresso flat white? Which?
a double espresso.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I love it. Good old cafe latte.
Okay, but so you didn't have any particular brand, like was not like a Jacobs fan or a Douwe Egberts fan. You like any cup of coffee which you could put rusk in. Was your cup of coffee?
Yeah, just not Frisco.
Oh, okay. So you at least.
Yeah, but we don't talk about tea here, you know.
And now today, a few years later, being in the industry, what's today your cup of coffee you would enjoy the most?
I just heard him say fruity.
Yes, in a black coffee, Americano, I really enjoy a Tanzanian coffee.
Okay.
Ethiopian coffee.
Oh, Ethiopia.
Or Tanzanian as well, but specifically in the Guji area. So the Osasala, the Hambela in the Guji area, and then the Gesha is also the Gesha from Africa. That's really nice and fruity. You can taste the fruits, the peach coming out there, the raisins. So I really enjoy that in a black coffee. And then in a milk beverage, I do like a Nicaragua, Guatemala, some of those South American, or a blend. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. So you like body in your coffee then? Obviously when you add milk and
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
But when you take it black, body or spunky?
More spunky. I do a lighter roast for all the single origins, so really bringing that out, and then
Nice.
generally for the blends and some of the South American, a little bit more body, so
Yeah,
a little
of
bit more
course.
of a medium.
I mean, you put milk or anything else in it to water it down, you need to keep that constant of the coffee flavor coming through, which is always interesting. So just for you guys out there, the coffee, we just brewed a beautiful little V60 profile, little flower. 1 to 12 ratio in cup, but I poured it on a 1 to 10 just to get it into the cup because it was slightly on the finer side. So I just water it down slightly. The coffee we're drinking, actually one of his favorite, Ethiopia, from the beautiful farms there. And it's a Gesha, the old traditional Gesha varietal. 16 to 1800 meters above sea level, went through a natural process, roasted it between a light to medium roast profile, beautiful, developed. Of course on the air roaster, which my only question would be, when you do air roasting, how do you follow the concept between light and medium for yourself, on your personal experience? What do you look at to create a light or a medium profile?
So I think the one thing that makes the air motion roaster unique, they call it an open chamber roaster. So you can actually see the beans, smell it, you can hear the cracking. So by visual, I look at the color, the outside color. That's one of the key indicators. And then we also have diagnostics where we have a screen doing all the time of roast after first crack.
But that's normally post roast, right? You always look at those things after.
No, during.
You
the
actually
roast.
like to look. Okay,
Yeah,
during. Okay.
So during the roast, we look at the colors specifically after first crack, and then also the time of roast after first crack. So I used to follow more
similar
the
principle.
Percentage of total development time, but now I really focus on just the time after first crack. So
so what's your favorite time after first crack?
For some of the light roasts, I would actually do like a 30-second to 1 minute already.
Oh, I love it.
And then otherwise more medium, we would go to minute to 2 minutes after first crack.
Yeah.
So we look at the time, we look at all the other variables. We stretch it through the browning phase as well, and then try to stretch it a little bit during the development phase. So it really depends on the beans and how we roast, but it's really getting the feel, and that's what I like about the artisan roasting. It's not just about the figures and everything. You actually look and you smell, because it does differ each batch, temperature, everything.
I always say a proper roaster is defined by the guy who goes, how's my coffee reacting? You're not just following the profile saying, okay, great, this says it's a 20% development. It's, okay, 1 minute or 30 seconds or 45 seconds after first crack, but the bean is nice and beautiful in color, which means that you're not looking necessarily at the color to define. And that was the question that I wanted you to answer, but I don't want to give it to open it up for your mind to think about it too much, because I wanted to know, how do you look at roasting? You don't look at, they say the profile. You actually look at the bean. Which is why I love coffee so much, is because we can actually care about the bean. What do I mean by that? 21 seconds after first crack might only be a 12% development. But my goodness, I've tasted natural coffees that look dark.
Yes.
Because we caramelized the sugar so much that it opened up the coffee. Yeah, but Theo, it's underdeveloped. Doesn't taste like it. It tastes amazing. So I love it. Like the roasting passion. The love for the coffee, not the love for the technology.
So if I understand it correctly, you're roasting the coffee according to what the bean can gives you, and not what the flavor notes you want. What I'm trying to say is, you don't pressure the bean to give you certain flavors. You use the bean to give you certain flavors.
Yeah, the bean tells the story, not you.
And it's by
it.
means of experimentation. So we're doing different roast profiles. We're trying to get most out of the bean. And then once again, for what people want to drink. Is it a milk beverage? Is it just a...
Exactly, what do they want? Yes.
And I think that's a challenge for us as roasters, because the bean has so much complexity, and it really depends on the end consumer, how do they actually brew it. And that's our challenge, is doing that education and experimenting then further. So we can do some experimenting. We can say maybe do it in this drink, but you can do it in a different drink and get much more out of it. So
of course.
And then really, obviously you have the challenge of what the consumer wants, and then the barista have the responsibility to bring that flavors out of what you roasted.
Yes.
Because unfortunately the barista can mess it up, or he can make it marvelous.
Oh yes.
All depending on the training and education he's receiving. But I hear what you say, you quite have a lot of responsibility on your back, because there's more than 4 years of labor that went in the bean.
Exactly.
Now you receive it green, and you need to get the developing and the flavor notes out of there, because from you it only goes to the barista.
Yeah.
So I can think it's quite a lot of challenges you're facing.
Well, I love the fact that you're
Yeah.
open to experiment with it. Most people are like, oh, no. This is what they said. This is what we need to follow. Let's not change anything else. And then some people go, but this is horrible. Yeah, but at least I followed the rules. No. Let's tell the story of the farmer. Like the coffee we're tasting, beautiful sweetness, nice complexity. It was a beautiful color. I can taste the sugar molecules. I can taste the oiliness coming through. There's so much in this coffee, which means I can taste that from the farm to your hand in the roaster, there was thought that went into this. It's not just roasty flow, I need to add some milk and sugar to make it drinkable. There was thought that went into it, which I think we've got so much responsibility to tell that story of the farmer. And no one does that. No one really cares, because now just give me my cup of coffee, I'll fix it afterwards with a few sugars, which I'm happy that you're not one of those.
Yeah.
Yes, we all started there, and of course we want to take the rest of the world to a place where they go, oh wow, what can this cup give me today? What was the story? What did the farmer do? And so on that note, where's your heart for the farmer? Like, how do you in the future want to connect back to actually be able to tell the story of the coffee? How do you feel about that whole mumbo jumbo journey that we focus on so much?
Yeah, so I think it's multifaceted. I think it's part of getting that message out with information. So what we do is on our website we try to get more information about the bean, but also the farmer. Where does it come from? And sometimes a bit of a history of the farmer, and maybe which plot it was grown on. And so yeah, I think it's getting information out there, and then also making people aware of South African coffee, that we actually do have that, and there's multiple farms. It's not just one farm that's out there. Yeah.
Of course, guys, we love Des, and we want you to try Des's coffee. Mbinjati is freaking amazing, and yes, they are going through a really tough time in this portion of the journey of coffee. And I love the fact that you always keep on bringing it back to your origin. You're South African. So you want to support locally here. Yes, we support Africa. We're drinking some beautiful Ethiopian coffee, but I like the fact you keep on thinking more local. Let's tell the local story, which is beautiful. Like I definitely love that about coffee people. It's yes, if you live in Ethiopia, yes, experience the Ethiopian coffee. Drink the Nicaraguan, drink the South America, but focus on your local. It's so important.
So what's your vision then for the local community in South Africa where we're now, for the coffee community? What's your vision? What's you aiming for to get it in the coffee community?
I think the biggest challenge that we have is education, and I think that's what's great. What you're doing is just getting the information out there. People should know about South African coffee. Should know how to brew the coffee to get its full potential out, and it's a journey.
Yes.
Start with sugar, but scale that down. Try a black coffee now and again, and just try something new. It's just experimenting about
Experiment, yes.
Yeah, so we will add your link in the podcast blog we're going to write, but where can the people find you? How can they get involved into your Airabica? What platforms do you have where the community can see and visit you?
So Instagram we're very active on Instagram.
All
so
right.
There's new posts on Airabica at Airabica, and then also on our website, airabica.co.za.
Okay. So, and if they want to buy a coffee or roast, can coffee shops come to you and ask you roast for them?
Yeah, so our primary market is the individuals at home that
Okay.
really like premium coffee, so they can order online, and we deliver all across the country. And then we also do wholesale for coffee shops, for restaurants, for businesses. So that is something that we also do. So we cater for whoever appreciates proper coffee.
Yeah. Okay.
I like it. Proper coffee. I love it when that word comes up. Because of course, what do you mean when you say proper coffee? Just for the listener out there, what does proper coffee mean to you?
I think it's coming back to the farmers. That's really where it starts. It's looking at how the plant is looked after,
Tracing the coffee back.
tracing back, and
Okay.
really having that farmer that's really taking care of the plant, getting through the processing, knowing how it's processed, how it should be processed, trying also different ideas of processing, and then getting it to us as a roaster. That's really where it starts, and the quality that goes in there. And a lot of people don't understand that getting the right quality does affect the price significantly, but it affects the taste. And the farmer goes through a lot on getting just A grade, let's say A grade premium coffee that doesn't have any defects. He actually has to filter, throw away a lot of those beans to actually just provide the quality beans for you. So it's really getting, as the listeners will also know, with the SEA standards, looking at the defects, getting the grade, and then how it tastes. That's really setting the standards for premium specialty coffee.
Exactly.
80% upwards. So you can really get very cheap coffee it's commercially grown, that's harvested by machines, and it's lower grade. And you can drink that coffee still, but you're not going to get the same taste profiles as a specialty.
The farmer's not really going to get anything from that. The farmer has 5,000 acres. He sends his equipment out, and we love those. Of course, if it wasn't for the commercial growers, we wouldn't have coffee commercially available. So I always say I appreciate those guys, but I also want those guys to focus on bringing out those slightly more micro lots, the ones that creates or is created by the smaller farmers. So how do you feel about fair price for the farmer or good price for the farmer? Which I'm kind of feeling you looking at towards the good price for the farmer. Do you think the farmers are getting paid enough? Do we want them a fair price or a good price?
So for us, as one of our core things in Airabica is looking at sustainability.
Okay.
So that's from an eco point of view, but then also from a social, coming back to the farmer.
Yes.
So it's difficult to say for me how the farmer operates exactly what they do, but I know the cost is high.
Of course.
So at the end, sustainability means that the farmer, the effort that they're putting into the farm, providing a good quality bean, it needs to be sustainable. He needs to be able to plow back into the farm, into the workers, into the proper processing equipment. And I think that's where a lot of the education comes in, is to really continue making that premium specialty grade beans. There's a lot of effort going in there, and that's where they need to be paid. I don't know what your definition of fair is.
I would say good.
It needs to be good so they can sustain that, grow that going forward, not go back to planting other crops or
we don't want it. I don't want you to grow macadamias if you're a coffee farmer. So that you can be self-sustainable. I want you to look after your family, feed your family, pay for your family's school, your kids, and live, have a life, and then have enough money left to put it back into the farm. I don't want you to put everything back into the farm and then you live fairly. I want you to live lekker. Like we always make the joke about the tycoons. I've never heard of a coffee tycoon. Like the farmers are suffering due to the fact they're not getting paid good. They're getting paid fair. And I'm not against fair pay. I'm not against the fairness of it. I'm about, we get to consume this thing every single day. We get to enjoy it. And the farmer gets to suffer. Why? Well, because at least I had my coffee. No. The farmer should actually live. Because if he lives, his passion for getting up. My main focus always is, if it wasn't for the farmer who took a sip of a great cup of coffee and went, damn, I love this so much, I think I'm going to farm it, we wouldn't have had it. Now that farmer needs to suffer to look after his family just so that we can keep on enjoying it. That's not fair. They need to get a good price, which specialty makes that possible. It brings the point back to the starting point. The farmer who loved the coffee so much that he was willing to say, you know what, screw it all. I'm going to make a good cup of coffee. And I'm going to try and keep the labor to a minimum, but so that I can, at the end of the day, actually look after my family and people can have a good cup of coffee.
Now, what would you suggest on that? How can the consumers, the coffee shop owners, the roasters, everyone give more honor to the farmer? How do you think we can, I would say, expose the problem more as consumers? How can we, what's your suggestion on how we can make that more, what's the right word?
More available.
Available, the information. And how can we expose and honor the farmer more?
Yeah, so I think it's by the information, just getting the message out there to say who is the farmer, what are they doing, what's their story, where they've come from, and it's media. We need to maybe have interviews
So
for the guys.
basic
giving them
traceability,
information.
you would say.
And transparency, traceability, giving the farmer the recognition as well. So it's not just a name on the bag and we don't know where the coffee is coming from. We can actually say, give credit to the regional farmers.
So you would say it's important to, on every bag of coffee, to put traceability of where the coffee have gone through.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good.
Which of course brings us to your packet.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got your QR code on there. It's not always possible to put the farmer on the packet. But we can make it available, especially with today's technology. You take your phone, you scan a little QR code, you've got the direct link, and of course, the caffeine community's heart is to connect the end consumer, of course, us right now, drinking the coffee, back to the farmer to go, okay, cool, so this came from a good region, it's a good varietal, it was well roasted, we can definitely taste it was good traceability in the processing, and obviously looking after the bean and cleaning up the bean and making a big loss to bring us a good cup of coffee. But have that availability on the website to say, okay, who was the exact farmer? So processing station, if you're listening to this, please send us the information that we require to be able to tell the story. Because we know in this region, there's about 35 to 40 farms. We don't always know who the farmer is. So if you're a processor and you're listening to this, or if you're an importer or exporter right now, you're listening to this, please give us the information of the farmer. We want to be able to connect to the farmer and go, good job. I really loved enjoying this Gesha from you. Like right now, I don't know which farmer grew this specific Gesha because the information is not really available as of yet. And I think it is our honor to honor the farmers by actually giving the recognition back to the farmer and going, great job. You know, on Instagram or on a WhatsApp or just on a website where we review and go, you know, at whoever the farmer is. Thank you for putting the time into your local area to make sure that we could enjoy a phenomenal cup of coffee. I think that story of the farmer should be told more. And of course, I can see your heart is definitely on that note, which is probably why we connected so well from the beginning. Because I actually remembered, I think you came to the second get-together in Pretoria this year, if I'm not mistaken. You didn't come to Cafe.
No, the first one he missed, and then the second.
Yes, the second one we were at, and I'm trying to remember the location. Heavenly Coffee, yes. We were visiting there by Heavenly Coffee at, of course, Francois, phenomenal guy. And I got to meet you there, and we chatted a bit. And I was like, I can see there's something in this guy when it comes to the coffee. You were asking a lot of questions, more than me just mumbling on permanently about what's in the cup. And I was like, interesting. And then we started, having a chat at the next event there. We actually stood for like a good while. It was like, interesting. And then, of course, Stian, who started chatting to you a bit more. And he was like, interesting guy. And he wants to come visit you. And I was like, phenomenal. Like, let's do this. And now we get to sit here and we can see that we're actually carrying the same heart. Which, that's what we want you as listeners to know. It's the heart.
So for me, I think, coming back to the vision, I think for us as Airabica, our vision and the mission actually is providing enjoyment.
Yes.
Just
experience, man.
Life is hard.
Hard
Stuff
enough.
goes on.
Yeah.
Coffee provides some enjoyment. And
a happy place in a cup.
Yes. And the second thing for us is also it's just sitting and reflecting.
Yes.
We get so busy with the churn of life and the next stuff we need to do, and we need to just sit, reflect, and plan a bit.
Now it's sad that Mr. Pedantic is not here.
Yeah,
he always says coffee is about the moment.
Yeah.
It's about letting go of the whole busy life, sitting and going, just for those few seconds. Oh man, Mr. Pedantic, you need to come do an interview with this guy, man. You guys are going to talk for hours just about the moment, which is beautiful.
But then there's the third thing, and that's where coffee creates community.
Yes, brings people
it's
together.
It's not over a phone somewhere. It's when we invite people, we usually say, come drink a coffee or
Of
go
course.
for coffee. And that's, for us, coffee enables that for people to get together and talk about deep things and
Exactly.
things that matter, or
Connect.
just fun stuff.
I mean, most marriages even started over a cup of coffee, if you think
Hey,
about that.
I mean,
eh?
coffee shop is normally the first date,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I agree with you on the community, and that's why I like the concept of the caffeine community so much, because it's all about how can every coffee shop, roastery, even the end consumer, the customer, how we can create that community effect and have that moment, that happy place in every cup. And there's where we thank the farmers that creates that moment for us. Because then again, without the farmers, we wouldn't have this moment and this cup. So then again, thank you, farmers out there, whoever you are. And whenever we drink your coffee and you see no traceability, please hit us on the comments so that we can trace you in our traceability. And educate us more. There's a lot we still don't know.
Oh yeah. We can
yeah.
learn so much from the farmers, yet we never get to connect with them. Again, we need that connection. But yeah, so I mean, on that note, thank you, Duncan.
Yeah,
We
Duncan.
really appreciate the opportunity to sit and actually, hear where do you come from and where your love for the coffee is. And of course, we can see and hear your heart, which is probably why we connected. So we want to tell your story. We want you to tell your story. So I would say welcome to the caffeine community family. Like
Yes.
this is a community that we're trying to build, not based on who started it, but actually on who takes it. Like the caffeine community is about building the environment, the community, the family, the connection, and then of course the traceability back to where it came from.
And thank you
so-
for your amazing roasting, and good luck to you competing now in a competition
Of
at
course,
this moment.
yes.
So good luck with Shot in the Dark as well. And we're looking forward to the next episodes where you're going to teach us more about the air roasting. I think it's going to be a phenomenal episode. Yeah.
So how can we apply this information to our daily lives? Well, by knowing the traceability, he gets to roast it better. Why? Because he knows exactly what the bean went through, and so the bean is reacting a certain way so that we can get something from it. How can this information make our coffee better? Well, by connecting over a cup of coffee, of course. And so I think that would probably be the main purpose, is connecting, appreciating, loving, and connecting it back to the origin.
Thank you to you. Thank
Of
you,
course,
Stian.
man.
Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Always
Lekker,
fun
lekker.
to connect.
Yeah.
But yeah, until the next episode. So for you listeners out there, we hope that you enjoyed our cup of coffee with us. Hopefully you get to go and enjoy this one. Go and follow the link. This coffee that we enjoyed is available on Airabica's website. Go and taste it. Give us some feedback on what you think on it. And if you've got advice on how we can make it better, remember, we don't know everything. We want to learn as well. So if you out there have information, maybe you've been roasting air for the last 20 years. I don't know.
No.
Hit us up. Tell us, like, how can we even try and bring the story out and learn some more as well?
And if we don't know about you, please send us a message, DM us wherever you find us,
Definitely.
Instagram, on our website, and invite us to come and visit you. Maybe we can shoot a podcast with you, because we can't shoot a podcast if we don't know you. So let's get to each other and expand the community.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
I love it.
Until next time, lekker lekker.
See you guys later.